Hey everyone, Chris Renshaw here, and today we're gonna go ruin diving in Numenera thanks to Jade Colossus, Ruins of the Prior World from Monte Cook Games. With Numenera 2 currently funding on Kickstarter right now, I thought now was a good time to look at their latest product, and one of the coolest looking ones that I've seen so far, Numenera, Jade Colossus, Ruins of the Prior World, written by Bruce Cordell. And I thought the best way to look at this book is to kind of explore what it does best. And that it's a two-part book. The first part talks about this particular ruin that pops up in Numenera called the Jade Colossus, and it gives you a lot of details about that. But the other half of the book, or at least the last third of the book, deals with the Numenera Ruin Mapping Engine, which is a system that you can use to generate ruins in your own game, and they can just be endless kind of dungeon crawl type scenarios that people can go exploring, finding different ciphers in Numenera, and that sort of thing. And I thought the best way to show that off was of course, to make a dungeon, or to make a ruin. Specified as ruin. So let's make a ruin. But before we get to that, I just want to highlight some of the great things about this book, and that is, of course, it's the artwork. It's got really great artwork as you come to expect when you're dealing with a Monte Cook Games product. The writing in here is stellar, and it goes into very vivid detail about the Jade Colossus. It's a really great production, and even if you're wanting to use the Jade Colossus, there's a good starting point. It's got a couple of entrances and starting kind of outlines of the ruins that you can kind of start with to get your adventure or your explorers on the way, and then you can transition. It's got points where it's like, from here you need to use the ruin mapping engine if you want to go deep further, because this thing is all sorts of crazy. So with that, we're going to head over and we're going to take a look at the ruin mapping engine for Numenera. Alright, so as you see here, we've got everything we need to make a ruin. We got pencil, we got paper, and we got dice. And then of course, the Jade Colossus book here, because there's definitely a lot of rolling going on in this book. Alright, so we'll start here in our, well, I don't know how this is going to work, so we'll start in or at least how this ruin's going to work. So we'll start with our main entrance kind of center here on the page. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll for a corridor, and that's a D20 roll. So I rolled a 17. So this passage is going to run a short distance parallel to a previous chamber corridor. Ignore if no previous. Okay, so we're going to re-roll. All right, and this time it comes to a short distance and comes to a T intersection. Roll on this table for each. Okay, so first, our corridor is going to go forward a little bit, and then we're going to split off. All right. For this first one, the corridor is going to go another 20 feet or so. On the second one, it's also going to extend, it says another 20 feet. Okay, this passage is going to bend right. All right, and basically this is going to come to kind of just extend straight for a while. And then this one's going to extend. We'll put an X there to let you know that's our start. All right, so now we've got our corridor and we've got two exits that are going to go into some other type of room. So let's find out what types of rooms those are. So now we're going to roll percentage dice. Right. So this is going to be a chamber over here. All right. And then that's also a chamber, but let's get some variety in here. All right, so there's going to be a creature here. So then each one of these is going to go into another chamber. So this is obviously not something you're going to want to do at the table. I mean, technically you could do this, but that's just going to delay your game. You're probably going to want to do this beforehand and get your adventure all set up. So let's look at our chamber features over here. All right, so before we get to the actual chamber, first thing we're going to do is we're going to see how many exits this room has to know how many more this room forks off into another one. So this room is going to end here, so we're going to block that off. Pardon my terrible mapping skills. And then this one is going to have an additional exit, so we'll just kind of draw another pathway thing kind of there. All right, chamber. Let's see our chamber features. This is another percentage die roll. So let's see, 64. Oh, this is a really big one. Now I just drew boxes for these chambers, but technically there are even there are even tables to kind of show what kind of shape these rooms are in. So for the basics here, I'm just kind of doing boxes, but you could get way more detailed. Oh, okay. So in this chamber, what we're going to have here is basically a core or a conveyor belt that's going to be along the side here, in which boxes are going to emerge out of one end, travel down, and then enter back into the wall in another place. And then there's going to be a little device in the middle that looks like it was used to drop stuff in there. In this case, out of every 20 boxes, there's going to be what's called a midnight stone. Now, midnight stones are something new, a new item that's introduced in the Jade Colossus book, which are used for all sorts of different purposes that you can use them for. So they're very valuable resources in here. So there's that, we've gotten that. Now let's go figure out our creature. So the way the creature works is it actually gives you more options the more that you have in the Numenera rule set. And I'm going to bring this down here so you can see. So you're going to roll percentage die, and if you have access to the core rulebook only, you can get a very limited number of creatures, but that's what's in the core rulebook. If you have the bestiary, then the list gets a little longer because you've now got also including all the options from there. And the list gets even more longer if you've also got the bestiary too. So it's nice in that it's compatible with whatever you've got. You know, you don't have to have all the bestiaries in order to fully use this table. But for this circumstance, since I have both the bestiaries, we're going to roll for on the plus. All right, so we got a 50, which is an accelerator. No, wait, that's the regular one. So 50 is Collaptine Crab. I haven't been through the Bestiary 2 yet. That's the next book I have to review, but that's the kind of creature that's in there. And then we'll basically kind of continue from here. Do we roll? So we go back all the way to our main feature table. We'll roll some percentage die again. All right. We're gonna get another chamber. Let's figure out what size chamber this is this time. Another square chamber with one additional exit. All right. All right, and see as you go on and on and on and on. So actually, I'm gonna cut away for a minute. I'm gonna do some more work on this, and then we'll come back and kind of see where I'm at. All right, if you look here, you can see, obviously my drawing is terrible, so please don't judge me on that. But I managed to fill this out a little bit more. So after our Collaptine Crab, we are going to enter into a chamber room that's got a clear cylinder that emits subsonic vibrations. After that, we've got a kind of interstitial space, which is kind of a small behind the walls kind of area that's got hollow tubes or towers that jut up from the floor and from the sides, that are hollow, one of which has a Vitiran, which is this kind of like machine looking kind of nasty creature. I forgot to mention that the Jade Colossus book also has some new creatures in here as well that are native to the Jade Colossus. So one of these tubes has one of those creatures in there. It's a level 7 creature, so that would be nasty. However, this interstitial space goes up, and I could have it, I could modify the results if I wanted to make this even bigger, but it has it going up into kind of like an extra level 2, where it's got a nice little triangle room here that's got a metallic pod that puts stuff in stasis. Then there's a little passageway here that narrows down to only like 4 inches wide, and if something manages to get through that, it falls into this reclamation pit that has a deconstructor automaton. And now I've got kind of a base framework of this ruin for a bunch of heroes to go explore in. And of course I could, I could add stuff to this. This is just a framework. This is just to get the creativity flowing. Like, this reclamation pit would be a great place to kind of chuck a couple of ciphers. Maybe this Veteran is guarding something here in this interstitial space. Or maybe instead of this clear cylinder, maybe I could have something in there. Or maybe this creature's guarding something. Or maybe I could change this up and maybe jut out a couple of extra corridors kind of in here if I wanted to make this even bigger. So you can see there's a lot of stuff here. And this is just me going off the straight die rolls. And I could have fudged them a little more if I wanted something, a little bit more variety in there. So, and also I was just kind of basic drawing. But especially if you're someone that loves maps, I think you're really going to like the tools that this thing gives. There you go. Now you know of a bit of what looks inside the Jade Colossus and the kinds of things that you can create with this book. It's a really awesome book. I think if you're new to Numenera, before you get the bestiaries, before you get any of the core source books, you get the core rule book, or if you're looking at the Numenera 2 Kickstarter, I think you're going to want to pick this book up. I think this is a definite must get for Numenera. I mean the cover sold me alone. I knew I had to have it just based on the beautiful work on the cover, and the inside doesn't disappoint either. What would you like to see inside a Numenera ruin? What sorts of bits of technology or ciphers, or what kind of creatures lurk inside your ruins? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to see what kinds of stuff that you guys can come up with and use inside your Numenera games. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for other great videos and content coming soon. And in the meantime, I will see you guys next time.